The world didn't realize it yet, but the United States was quietly inching toward a decision that could reshape the entire geopolitical landscape of the Western Hemisphere, a decision that carried with it the weight of history, the echoes of past interventions, and the very real possibility of plunging America into another costly and unpredictable conflict. On a tense November morning, U.S. military forces entered a heightened state of alert. Across strategic locations in the Caribbean, deployments surged. Equipment moved, aircraft repositioned, and 15,000 American soldiers took their places near Venezuela's borders, waiting for an order that could arrive at any moment. No one outside the administration knew why such a force was being assembled so quickly. But history has taught us that the United States rarely mobilizes with such intensity unless a major action is on the table. The hints began to surface on November 14th. Aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump addressed reporters, offering vague but ominous comments about Venezuela. His tone was confident, certain, almost as if the decision had already been made, and the world was merely waiting for him to announce it. Just hours earlier, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had declared the launch of an operation called Southern Spear, or Osmern Spear, as some reports transliterated it. Officially, the mission involved U.S. naval forces moving into the Caribbean to, as the Pentagon phrased it, eliminate drug trafficking terrorists. But even seasoned observers of American foreign policy raised their eyebrows at the explanation. Drug enforcement operations don't require carrier strike groups. They don't need fighter pilots analyzing enemy air defense networks. And they certainly don't demand 15,000 combat-ready troops positioned a stone's throw from a sovereign nation's borders. Something else was happening. As we speak in this episode, even the American public remains largely in the dark about the exact purpose of this deployment. Sources inside the Pentagon, however, paint a more revealing picture. Pilots aboard the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced aircraft carrier on Earth, were reportedly studying Venezuelan air defense systems. They were mapping radar positions, identifying anti-aircraft sites, and rehearsing potential strike routes. That kind of preparation is never accidental. According to the Washington Post, Trump had been presented with multiple military options. Some involved targeted strikes, others involved the deployment of Delta Force, America's most elite special operations unit, and still others resembled full-scale invasion plans. To many observers, this was no longer political pressure or rhetorical brinkmanship. This was genuine, intentional military readiness. But why? For Trump, Venezuela represented more than a foreign policy challenge. It was an opportunity, one that echoed a historic moment from America's past, a moment when a U.S. president, burdened by doubts about his strength, launched a military operation that swiftly toppled a foreign leader, boosted American power, and catapulted the president's approval ratings to new heights. That president was George H.W. Bush, and that operation was the invasion of Panama in 1989. To understand Trump's intentions, we must go back to the beginning of that story. A story shaped not only by geopolitics, but by something far more personal, a man's struggle with his own public image. It was October 1987. Newsweek published an article titled "Bush Battles the Wimp Factor." It was written by journalist Margaret Warner and Renata Schalpolt. And it hit the political world like a thunderbolt. The article argued bluntly and with striking confidence that Vice President George H.W. Bush suffered from a reputation problem, despite decades of public service. Despite his resume overflowing with experience, many Americans believed he wasn't strong enough to be president, not tough enough, not assertive enough, not decisive enough. The word used, the one that haunted him, was wimp. This perception wasn't new. It dated back to Bush's early political life, lingering through his years in Congress, his role as ambassador to the United Nations, his tenure as CIA director, and finally his position as vice president under Ronald Reagan. Reagan, of course, was the opposite of a wimp. He was charismatic, commanding, and articulate, the great communicator. He captivated audiences effortlessly, delivering speeches with emotional resonance and theatrical confidence. Bush, by contrast, often appeared awkward on television. His demeanor felt restrained, his tone inconsistent, his presence less magnetic. and the media never missed a chance to highlight the contrast. One commentator even joked that Bush should appoint Jeane Kirkpatrick, a tough, sharp-tongued diplomat, as his running mate, just so his campaign would have at least one person who looked like they could win a bar fight. It was cruel, but it reflected what many voters genuinely believed. Still, despite the ridicule and doubts, Bush won the 1988 election. He entered the White House in January 1989, determined to erase the wimp label forever. He needed to project strength. Not philosophical strength, not rhetorical strength, but tangible, decisive, military strength. And soon, perhaps fatefully, an opportunity arrived. The country was Panama, a small nation at the southern tip of Central America. A nation strategically vital because of one thing: the Panama Canal, the narrow artery through which global trade and American maritime power flowed between the Atlantic and Pacific. At the time, Panama was ruled by General Manuel Noriega, a man whose reputation blended the traits of a dictator, a drug trafficker, and a longtime CIA asset. For years, Noriega had worked with American intelligence. He cooperated with U.S. operations in Central America, especially Washington's clandestine effort to arm the Contras in Nicaragua. And although his involvement in drug trafficking was well known, the U.S. tolerated, even protected him for as long as he remained useful. But by the late 1980s, Noriega's behavior had become too erratic. His authoritarian rule destabilized Panama's internal politics and threatened American interests. And above all, he became a political liability for Washington. All that Bush needed was a spark. It came on December 16, 1989. That night, a civilian vehicle carrying 4 off-duty U.S. military personnel mistakenly approached a Panamanian Defense Forces checkpoint in Panama City. Panamanian soldiers opened fire. In the chaos, an American Marine, Lieutenant Robert Paz, was killed. Another officer and his wife were detained and assaulted. The incident was tragic, but also convenient. It handed Bush the perfect justification he needed. Within hours, 11,000 U.S. soldiers were deployed from bases in the United States to Panama, joining the roughly 13,000 troops already stationed there. By December 20th, Operation Just Goes began. The United States invaded Panama with overwhelming force. Airborne troops, Rangers, Marines, mechanized units, the full weight of modern American capability, smashed through Panamanian defenses. Officially, Bush cited for reasons for the invasion: 1. Protect American lives. 2. Defend democracy in Panama. 3. Combat drug trafficking. 4. Secure the Panama Canal Treaty. But each of these reasons had a complicated relationship with the truth: the claim of protecting American lives. Panama had been unstable for years. Washington had tolerated that risk. In fact, declassified documents showed that the U.S. had been waiting for a suitable trigger, any trigger that could justify intervention. The claim of defending democracy, the 1984 Panamanian election, had been openly rigged by Noriega, and the United States not only failed to condemn it, but sent high-ranking officials to the fraudulent inauguration. The claim of fighting drugs. Noriega had become a major drug trafficker. Yes, but he had risen to power with U.S. assistance, especially during Bush's time as CIA director. And the fourth claim, securing the canal, revealed the deeper strategic motive. The United States was uneasy about fully handing over control of the canal to Panama by the year 2000, as required by the Cartatorios Treaty. Destabilizing Panama's military allowed the U.S. to influence any renegotiations and maintain leverage over one of the world's most important shipping routes. The Oscar-winning documentary The Panama Deception later exposed this strategy in stark detail. Within 14 days of the invasion, U.S. forces captured Noriega after he sought refuge in the Vatican embassy. He was flown to Miami, tried in an American court, and sentenced to 40 years in prison. It was the first time in American history that the United States invaded another country, seized its head of state, and brought him back to face trial under U.S. law for crimes committed elsewhere. International condemnation was loud and widespread. But domestically, Bush was hailed as a decisive leader. His approval ratings soared from 51% to 80% in less than a year. This was the political miracle Trump never stopped thinking about. By the time Venezuela entered the spotlight, Donald Trump found himself entangled in growing domestic pressures, including the explosive fallout from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. The allegations, the leaked connections, and the public speculation weighed heavily on his public image. In this environment, Trump intensified his criticism of Nicolas Maduro. He threatened military force, he issued warnings, he tightened sanctions, and he openly floated the idea of invasion. But Venezuela was not Panama. Not geographically, not militarily, not politically, and not in terms of what an invasion would cost. Venezuela is enormous, roughly twice the size of Iraq. From lush Amazon rainforests to the bustling streets of Caracas, the geography is wild. Its population approaches 30 million, 10 times that of Panama in 1989. Unlike Panama, Venezuela is home to one of the largest oil reserves on Earth. The largest, in fact. 18% of global proven reserves, billions of barrels, sitting beneath the soil, giving Venezuela immense strategic value in the global energy system. Furthermore, the U.S. has no bases there, no strategic footholds, no embedded military presence, and neighboring countries such as Colombia and Brazil, essential for any staging operations, oppose the idea of an American invasion. Even limited U.S. actions carried huge risks. In early September, American forces clashed with Venezuelan patrol boats in the Caribbean, accusing them of drug trafficking. Tensions rose again when Trump hinted at preparing strikes on Venezuelan soil, only to later retract the statement under political pressure. What the U.S. president really hoped for was simple: that the massive U.S. military buildup would force Maduro to step down voluntarily. Maduro did not. Instead, he made an astonishing offer. He proposed giving American companies full access to Venezuela's present and future oil projects in exchange for the U.S. backing off attempts to remove him. But Trump's advisors rejected the deal. They wanted Maduro gone, and they believed pressure alone could make it happen. But what if airstrikes failed? What if sanctions failed? What if Maduro refused to fall? The next step would be a ground invasion. And that could trigger a catastrophe. According to Reuters, leaked Venezuelan government documents revealed detailed plans for how to resist a U.S. invasion. First strategy was guerrilla warfare. Instead of confronting U.S. forces conventionally, Venezuela would disperse small, mobile units across more than 280 strategic zones. These units would sabotage infrastructure, attack convoys, strike at night, and then disappear into the mountains or dense urban neighborhoods. The second strategy was urban chaos. Government loyalists, intelligence operatives, and armed civilian groups would create disorder in Caracas, turning the capital into an ungovernable maze of violence, roadblocks, ambushes, and riots. Any invading force would be swallowed by the city's complexity. Even Venezuelan officials admitted they could not withstand a traditional war against the U.S. military for more than 2 hours. But traditional war was never their plan. Their goal was to make Venezuela another Vietnam, another Afghanistan, another Iraq, a conflict defined not by clear victories, but by slow, grinding, relentless attrition. Maduro claimed that 8 million civilians were prepared to take up arms to defend the country. Experts say this number is exaggerated. But even if only a quarter were willing, it would still represent one of the largest irregular militias in modern history. On top of that, an estimated 6 million firearms are already in civilian hands throughout Venezuela. And while many Venezuelans resent the government, the idea of a foreign occupation could unite millions behind Maduro purely out of national pride. Replacing Maduro would be even more difficult. Installing opposition figure Maria Corina Machado, or former candidate Edmundo Gonzalez, would require U.S. military support. Without it, any new leader would be instantly overwhelmed. And if the U.S. resorted to assassinating Maduro, the resulting chaos could tear the nation apart, forcing an even deeper American military footprint. Even then, loyalty from the Venezuelan army, police, and population would never be guaranteed. Rebuilding the economy, shattered by years of mismanagement, would cost billions, maybe tens of billions, or even more. All of this raises a disturbing question. Would Trump risk dragging the United States into a Venezuelan quagmire simply to escape the mounting domestic pressure surrounding him? And an even more important one, would Russia and China Maduro's allies step in to support Venezuela and bog the United States down in a costly, endless conflict? Your thoughts matter. Tell me what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes coming soon.